All right, we're going to be looking at this video from Tucker Carlson. Now, if you guys don't know, the proper nickname for Tucker Carlson is Master Propagandist because that's what this guy does, and it's pretty crazy to watch him do this. So, he's going to be talking about the New York City Amazon deal once again here. Remember, he previously talked about that, but there was a little catch in there where he blames the Democrats. He's going to do the same thing here. This is even more interesting. I don't even know whether this guy is left or right who he brings on. He's some, I don't know what to call it, self-entitled tech entrepreneur who thinks he's really dope. He's going to be not so cool, as you guys are going to see. So he brings on someone who's not even really on any of the Republican side. The title says Tucker takes on, this is not the title, sorry, this is what it says on the screen, where it says Tucker takes on corporate welfare supporter. And here's the title of the YouTube video on Fox News Insider. It says, Tucker NYC Amazon deal shows Democrats are now the party of, quote, merciless corporate power. So the anatomy of this segment is you bring on a guy who's a corporate welfare supporter who doesn't even identify. And if he does identify anything politically, this guy's Republican because, as you're going to see, he's going to go after AOC, and he's also going to call her socialist, funny enough. And then he's also going to praise the tax cuts. So if he does align anywhere politically, this guy is Republican and not Democrat. So there's that. And then he's framing it as if it's an only Democrat problem. So I want you guys to check this out. We'll come back and talk about it.
Well, for about 100 years, the Democratic Party was the party of America's working class. Not anymore. Now the Democratic Party is the party of merciless corporate power, of Google and Facebook and the rest, and they'll punish you if you get in their way, as you know. Latest example, New York and Northern Virginia, two of the bluest parts of this country, showered promises and billions in taxpayer breaks on Jeff Bezos. He runs Amazon. In return, both those states are getting a new Amazon headquarters. It's a great deal for Bezos. Not that he needs it. He's already the richest man on planet Earth. But what about taxpayers? Eric Schiffer is a tech entrepreneur. He's CEO of the Patriarch Organization. He joins us tonight. Eric, thanks a lot for coming on.
My pleasure.
So it's just not clear to me why would New York, for example, and Virginia's in on this too, but New York paid more. Why would they need to pay $3 billion in effect in taxpayer dollars to the richest man in the world for the privilege of having the company move to New York?
Well, look, I came on because the state representative there, Cortez, made a statement and made comments basically saying that she didn't want to take Amazon's jobs in New York because perhaps it wasn't going to be unionizable, et cetera. And you agreed with Cortez in this situation.
No,
and frankly,
I didn't. I wasn't.
You did.
But hold on. No, I'm sitting right here. I can tell you what I agree with. I'm never ashamed of that. I agreed with the point that she made, and I don't often agree with her, but I thought it was a fair point. Why is New York, which is crumbling, I'm there a lot, you may be there now, the city's falling apart, it smells, the subways break, it's disgusting. Why would the city be spending $3 billion to the richest man in the world? Why wouldn't the money go to, I don't know, fixing the subways, just throwing it there, cleaning up the streets or plowing the snow or helping the people who already live there? I'm just confused.
Well, look, I typically and rarely, if ever, agree with the socialists, and certainly don't in this situation on many levels. I think what happened here, and I think we all can recall, that Amazon had an open bid across the country in which all these states could compete, and everyone did. And they did because people still want jobs across the country. They still want good-paying jobs. And frankly, I think that goes for New York and even Arlington. People in the Bronx and in Queens, they haven't had investment in jobs in about 100 years. And here comes Amazon saying, look, we're considering putting jobs in your state, in your city. And the politicians that run the cities recognize it's a competitive situation. And all cities, all major cities, have for years, for decades, competed for incentives to get jobs, as they should. Look, the tax cut passed by President Trump, which I supported, it was a big proponent. I mean, a big component of the tax cut was jobs. It caused businesses,
but you're not going to get. Hold on, you're not.
Some of the big. Let me just finish my point, please.
I'm not. Wait, hold on. I'm not against jobs.
I don't think we are.
For jobs, but it's not Amazon. But hold on, it's not Amazon doing the investing. It's the taxpayers of New York and Virginia who are investing in Jeff Bezos against their will. They're paying the richest man in the world $3 billion for the privilege of having him move to a city he didn't build. I'm just confused. Why is that a good deal for New York? I know it's a good deal for Bezos.
Well, first of all, they're not handing a check to Bezos. They're handing a check to Amazon, which is a public company that you may own shares in. Anyone that watches the show could own shares in. So this is for the public in general, and it's a public company. It's an American company and a good one.
It's not an American. Wait, hold on, slow down. It's not an American company. It's not an American company. It's owned by people around the world, including sovereign wealth funds of our enemies. So it's not in any sense an American company.
Tucker, come on. This was founded in the United States. It's one of
I'm aware.
One of the great countries.
It could
one
only
of the great
have
countries
been founded here
in the
with
world
our justice system,
that allows for great technology.
But it's not American. Well, it's not. You think it's loyal to America?
Well, it was founded
you think
by
it's trying
Americans.
To help America? No.
Come on. It was founded by Americans. It certainly was. It certainly is a big contributor to tax here in America. There's no question, and jobs, significant jobs.
Okay,
and I think that my point that I was trying to make, Tucker.
Look, I don't think everything about Amazon is bad. I think they do a great job. I use Amazon. I mean, they're huge because they do a good job. But my question is, why would the Democratic Party hand the richest man in the world $3 billion a year to move to New York without asking what the taxpayers think in a city that it's literally falling apart? That's not a fair question. I think it is a fair question.
I think most states and most cities wanted Amazon to come. In fact, there were many other states that superseded that amount by significant levels. I mean, New Jersey and others.
I mean, why wouldn't? I mean, look, if you say Amazon is an American company,
part of the capital.
Really, this is not the capitalism I was promised. I don't know. I mean, so the capitalism is pull the biggest scam you can and run away laughing? I mean, that's not capitalism as far as I'm concerned.
No, actually, what I think it is, Tucker, is it's investing in jobs. The bottom line from this is, at the end, it's different than socialism like Cortez is for that you supported. The difference is that this is going to actually bring money back to the cities.
There's nothing capitalist about a monopoly.
You're talking about investment.
Some creepy billionaire suborning politicians on an inside deal that I had no say in. How's that capitalism? That's something much lower than capitalism.
It's capitalism when a city invests to get jobs and actually gets more money back from tax revenue. That makes sense. It's no different than the tax cut. We're getting more jobs. It's growing jobs. And I think that America can benefit in the right cases with investment.
All right. Okay. The helipad, that's my favorite part. Eric, thank you very much. Good to see you.
All right. So the master propagandist is at it again once more. So first, the guy who's this just overall douchebag pretty much is what he is. He tries to get Tucker by saying that, you agreed with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know why Tucker took offense to that. Here's the reason why. Actually, I lied. I do know. It's because he doesn't want to tick off his fans. He doesn't want to make it look like he's really agreeing with AOC. And so he's just sort of, he's like, what? What are you talking about, man? And so that was sort of the first strike there that was going on. Then this guy who's a massive douche, this guy who's a tech entrepreneur, he says, this is a public business. Yeah, dude. But average, everyday Americans don't own stock. I believe it's something like the majority of stocks are owned by the top 10% of people in the United States. The people who are going to be having jobs at Amazon, they're not going to be holding stock in the business. So that's one of the most laughable arguments I've ever heard in my entire life. Again, there's no rationale for giving I believe it's $2 billion tax break, corporate welfare to Amazon, when, as Tucker said, you could just reroute that into your own infrastructure and have people work just like a jobs guarantee would. $2 billion would fund a lot of jobs, and it hurts saying that Tucker has a good point, but he does. And then he says that he calls Cortez a socialist. Cortez is not a socialist. I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a capitalist who wants a beefed up welfare state, meaning that there is more welfare programs have Medicare for all, covering more people in the United States, covering all people, forget more people, all people in the United States, free college education, etc., etc. None of that is socialism. Socialism would require an economy in which workers own their industry. So that guy, that tech entrepreneur, he's gone. He's no longer a tech entrepreneur. He's going to be, I don't know what they would do. I don't know. There's some different methods used in places like France and in the USSR. But anyways, you get the point with that. So, and then he tried, and this is what I mean by this guy is most likely a Republican because he backed the tax cuts. This guy is clearly someone who is not a Democrat, and despite that, Tucker Carlson, the master propagandist that he is trying to frame this as if it is in some way an only Democrat problem. So we, of course, the honest progressive left, call out the Democrats for their fake, for them being sellouts, period, right? For being sellouts to corporate interests and being beholden to their donors rather than being beholden to the people, which is the people who vote them in, and therefore they should be beholden to the people because that's the people who voted them in. That's who you're supposed to represent. You're supposed to represent the people, but instead of representing the people, you represent your donors. And so we called them out on that. But Tucker's trying to weaponize this for his own agenda. The truth is, obviously, is the Republican Party is 100% overt about being sellouts. They're totally too far gone. Whereas the Democratic Party, they are I would say a majority of them are definitely corrupted. But they're not as overt about it, and it's not as bad in the Democratic Party as it is in the Republican Party. And so while we call out the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, Tucker Carlson is trying to say, oh, come to the Republican Party. I'm using this as a defense mechanism for the Republican Party, despite the fact that obviously the Republicans are far more corrupt than the Democrats even are. And so I find this hilarious that he's trying to use this spin. And Ben Shapiro also did this spin, as I showed you guys yesterday, where he's trying to spin it as well to be an attack on Democrats. And so this is the true anatomy of a propaganda segment that we see from Tucker Carlson himself, because he tries to take things that are what he considers to be populism, and then he spins them in favor of his own BS nonsense.